I am live. I am alive. I am alive. Well, at least I think I'm alive. Am I alive? Ah, what do you know? Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, Robin. Well, I am trying to stream on YouTube and Rumble at the same time. And as far as I know, that shit's working. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the American Folk Magic Podcast. My name is Philip Ryan Deal. And tonight we have a very, very special show. The show that we're going to be doing tonight is my friend who is a conjure man. He is a root worker. He is a spiritualist. His name is Ali. And he's on TikTok. He's got a following on TikTok. And it is Sir Ali, SIRAALI, Conjure Routine Shop. He also has a YouTube channel. Hey, dilly dally, you got me going on, and you got me in both places. I like it. I like it. I'm glad. I am glad. I'm looking at my StreamYard right now, and I can see that I'm getting comments coming in from StreamYard on YouTube and on Rumble. Hey, June. Hey, girl. Hey, what's up? How you been? I've got one phone streaming on StreamYard, and I've got my computer open, and I've got another phone open over here, and I'm overwhelmed. I'm feeling. You guys know I'm neurodivergent, right? You guys know I have autism, like Elon Musk. And so I feel a little overstimulated right now. So just give me a second to calm down. I've got a hot, fresh cup of coffee. Hey, Grant. Hey. I'm glad you made it. Everybody, tonight we're going to be talking about the history of spiritualism in the United States, just for a minute for educational purposes until our friend Ali from TikTok shows up. So in the United States, there is a very large spiritualist community. And what is spiritualism? Spiritualism is a denomination that might or might not be Christian, because there are Christian spiritualists, and spiritualism in general is very, very Christian leaning, but it is not like Methodism, and it is not like the Episcopal Church, and it's not like the Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church. There are spiritualist churches, and spiritualism started in America in the 1840s and early 1900s. Spiritualism began in the mid-19th century, primarily in the 1840s and 1850s, centered around the belief that the spirits of the dead could communicate with the living. It emerged in the burned over district of New York, a region known for religious revivalism and experimentation. So there was two sisters named the Fox Sisters in 1848. And the movement took off when Kate and Margaret Fox claimed to be communicating with spirits via rappings in their home in Hydesville, New York. So they started practicing seances, and this attracted a very widespread attention, and it inspired like a nationwide movement. So the core beliefs is spirit communication through mediums. The spirit world is organized and hierarchical. Moral progress continues after death. So, you know, when the physical shell ends, that we have an afterlife. There's an afterlife, an after existence. By the 1850s, spiritualism had spread across the United States, and prominent figures like Andrew Jackson Davis blended it with mesmerism and early thought philosophy, or early New Thought philosophy. Excuse me, I didn't mean to yawn in your face. Spiritualism was especially popular among abolitionists, feminists, and reformers. I shouldn't say that on Rumble, since everybody on Rumble is like really conservative, but you know what? We're fucking around to find out around here, including Sojourner of Truth and Victoria Woodhull. The Civil War impact. The American Civil War intensified interest in spirit communication as families sought contact with lost loved ones. But by the end of the 20th century, the movement waned due to a lot of accusations of fraud and also the rise of scientific skepticism. Some groups have persisted, such as the National Spiritualist Association of Churches, the NSAC, founded in 1893. And then Spiritism is often confused with spiritualism, but has a distinct origin and philosophy founded by Allan Kardec in France in the 1850s. You guys still with me here? I'm just giving you a little bit of a background here so that you have an understanding about what the conversation is about. Spiritism. So that's spiritualism. So whenever someone refers to like being a spiritualist, I'm a spiritualist, it usually means that there's someone who is a medium that has the ability to communicate with people who have passed on, and they're Americans. Okay, spiritualism or the spiritualist movement is a very American thing. Spiritism is what was very, very popular in the Caribbean. Okay, Espiritismo, but it started in Europe. And it was founded by Allan Kardec in the 1850s. Spiritism spread to the US primarily through Latin America and Caribbean immigrants, especially Brazilians, Cubans, and Haitians. Unlike American spiritualism, Spiritism incorporated moral and philosophical teachings about reincarnation. Key differences: Spiritism believes in reincarnation and a structured spiritual progression. Spiritualism typically does not teach reincarnation and is more focused on communication with those who have moved on into their next life or the next realm. Spiritist centers exist today, especially in cities with large Brazilian and Cuban communities, or I would dare say Hispanic communities. Spiritism has had a lot of influence on Afro-Caribbean religions like Santeria, Voodoo, and syncretic forms of spiritualism like Espiritismo Cruzado, mixed or cross spiritism. And that's it. Long story short, that's how that goes. So whenever you hear somebody refer to themselves as a spiritualist, basically what that person means is they're a medium. There's someone who is a medium. I am a medium. I have the ability to communicate with people who have passed on. That is just, I want to talk about, can I talk about myself? Huh? Can I say some shit about myself? Can I talk about me for a second and talk about my experience as a spiritualist? Because this is very important. Last night in my mentorship program called Root, Craft, and Conjure, I have a spiritual mentorship program called Root, Craft, and Conjure. And we talked a lot, me and Robin talked a lot about our spiritual experiences and the kind of phenomenon that we experience being open to the spiritual world. So for one thing, you know, I know that I'm going to encounter a lot of people who are conservative and a lot of people who are Christians. But guess what? Christians still practice spiritism, because you can't practice religion without practicing spiritism. You can't practice Christianity without believing in spiritism. The Bible says God is a spirit, and those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth. And when Jesus went up to the mountain and had this transfiguration, what happened? Well, the prophets showed up and started ministering to him. This was something that was visible to the disciples. Their eyes were open and they could see that Jesus was communicating with the prophets. And then angels also are spirits. So if you're a Christian person, you believe that God is a spirit, that Jesus Christ lived and died, was resurrected. Jesus is a spirit. The saints are spirits. Angels are spirits. Of course, demons are spirits. But we live in a world full of spirits. Whether or not you believe they exist or not doesn't really matter to me. I don't give a fuck what you think. Other people's opinions don't matter to me. The only opinion that matters to me is my opinion. Everybody will find that out really fucking fast. But if you believe in any religion, Hinduism, Buddhism, in Buddhism, spirits of the dead are bodhisattvas if they're elevated. You've got saints in the Hindu tradition, and you have orishas in the Yoruba tradition. The orishas are our saints. In the Lakumi tradition, in the Yoruba Ifa tradition, orisha means selected head. Ori means head, and Sha means to select or to choose or to single out. And so an orisha is a person who lived and died, had this, very phenomenal life, and God chose to elevate them to the status of orishas. So who becomes orishas? People become orishas. Yeah. So so this is the thing about spirituality and the ability to perceive things that are not there. If you believe in Wi-Fi, if you believe that when you turn on your cell phone is working because it's picking up a signal, okay, from Verizon or from T-Mobile or let's say you've got Wi-Fi, you're at home and you have got a Wi-Fi signal. I really hate that I've got this ring light in my eyes. It's really irritating me. I haven't afforded to buy contact lenses. If one of you motherfuckers out there, like, you really love me and you really care about me and you want to see me like do well, why don't you make a donation? My Venmo and my Cash App username is located in the description of this video. Why don't you send me some money so I can go get some fucking contact lenses, so when I go live on my live streams, I'm not wearing glasses and getting all kinds of glare in my face from this ring light. Thanks. Wi-Fi. Your computer picks up on Wi-Fi, and our brains are receptors. We receive information from the spiritual world in the same way your computer receives the information that it broadcasts to you through a Wi-Fi signal. So, to me, there's no such thing as supernatural. Like, the supernatural world to me doesn't exist. There's nothing that exists outside of nature to me. Spirits are energy, consciousness. Now, there's a tripartite belief in the human beings, and I'm going to explain to you what that is. There's the physical body. There is the consciousness, which is the soul or the spirit, and the energy body. And it is the physical body, the energy, and the consciousness that make you a walking, living, breathing human being interacting with the world. When your physical body dies, okay, or when someone dies, they drop dead, what happens? The body goes cold, and the energy or the life force energy that animated that person's body is no longer present. It leaves. And when that energy body leaves, it takes the consciousness with it. So the energy body and the consciousness that makes a person, an individual, that leaves the physical body, and it's that energy consciousness that we call spirits. That is not, it's not rocket science. It's not even a cult. I don't believe in the occult. People might laugh and be like, this guy talks about magic, this guy talks about witchcraft, he talks about sorcery, he talks about the holy guardian angel, he talks about the Bible, he talks about all this stuff. But I don't believe in a supernatural world that exists outside of this world. Everything is supernatural to me. Everything is magical to me. Does that make sense? We live in a very, very, very beautiful, magical world. And you can interact with that spiritual world. And a lot of people will, and a lot of people who are Christian, and the reason why I keep coming back to this Christian stuff is because I'm feeling like it's going to be a theme here in a lot of my teachings moving forward on YouTube and Rumble, because that's kind of like where people are at right now. The thing about Christian folk is you will hear people refer to, oh yeah, and I felt my grandmother was so close to me, or I felt, I just know that my dad is looking down at me from heaven. So there's this concept. People who are Christian do have this idea or this concept that their family members will stay close to them or stick to them or be around them even after they pass on, even after they leave the physical body. So has anybody in the audience ever, felt the presence of a spirit around? Have you ever been like in your room and then suddenly you felt like you weren't alone? Or you might have felt like somebody's watching me and I got no privacy. Oh, have you ever had one of those experiences before? Well, I get those motherfucking experiences a lot. I always know when I've got ancestor spirits around. My ancestor spirits come around when I'm praying, when I'm meditating, when I'm playing music that they like, when I'm dancing, or when I'm actively talking to them and calling out to them and asking for their presence. I mean, we also, if you want to feel non-human spirits around, all you have to do is go to a very densely wooded area, or go out to the forest, or go out into the mountains, or go to some rural places, because you can really feel the presence of the consciousness that exists in nature all around. Wait a minute, what is that? Why is that there? I don't know why I have a chat going on. I don't want that chat. Oh, show comments on stage. No, I don't want that. Yeah, no, don't need that. Can you guys hear me okay? Do you like this? Are we getting good quality picture? Are we getting good quality sound? So I guess what I would like to talk about for a minute is a lot of people always ask me, a lot of people ask me about like ancestors and how to set up like an ancestor altar and start an ancestor practice. Okay, good. So while we're waiting for Ali to show up, because he told me that he was going to be here around 8:30, I just want to talk a little bit about ancestor work. I'm going to call it ancestor work. There is absolutely nothing wrong with honoring your ancestors and having a place in your home to honor your ancestors. Some people call it ancestor veneration. We don't worship our ancestors, we worship God, God Almighty. But by having a place for your ancestors' spirits in your home, what that's basically doing is it's having a warm welcome and an invitation for when the spirit arrives. The way we do it in my tradition, in Espiritismo, is we put out a glass of water and we put out a rosary or a cross. We'll put out some fresh flowers. It depending on whether or not you want to have like a white placemat, like you can get a white placemat from like Walmart, just a white placemat like you would put, on a dining room table. A white placemat is just fine. And it can be plastic, it doesn't have to be fabric, or it could be a bandana, it could be whatever you can get a hold of. Or if you want to have one that has a pattern, I have a placemat that is patterned. It's checkered, red and white, because, I don't know why my spirit's like that. So I have my glass of water, I have my metal crucifix, I have my rosary, I have a statue for the 7 African powers, I have a statue for 7 Indian powers, or a candle for the 7 Indian powers. I have a copy of the Bible. I have a cookbook that my grandmother really, really loved, the Puerto Rican Cookery, and just a few trinkets or items that remind me of my family and my cultural heritage. So there is no right or wrong way to set up an ancestor altar if you want to have one for your loved ones in your home. But we always put water, we always have flowers, we always have a candle. Traditionally, ancestor veneration or doing ancestor work is basically talking to and praying on behalf of ancestor spirits, or praying for them, their continued elevation. Praying for our ancestors' continued elevation in life, in the life that they're in now, the life that they have moved on to after exiting the body. And, the Bible says, honor your father and your mother, which is the first commandment with a promise. And so to me, when the Bible says, honor thy father and thy mother, what that means is to honor your parents and to honor your ancestors and honor your grandfathers and your grandmothers. It took millions and millions of people to live and die for you to be here, for you to have been born. And you've got many, many ancestors from many, many, many different places, and you're never going to know who they are. Okay. But one thing I do recommend is like getting an Ancestry DNA test. Go to ancestry.com and drop that $75 or drop that $80 to do an ancestor DNA test, so that you can find out, where your ancestors come from. Like if you're Black, okay, and you want to find out what geographical regions in Africa your ancestors were brought from, like in slavery, then get a DNA test, and then you'll find out whether or not you've got West African ancestors, Northern Africa, Central Africa, Eastern Africa. If you're white and you don't really know where your ancestors come from, then you will find out, well, you've got this percentage of Northwestern European, English, Irish, Scottish, German, whatever. But it's nice to know that. It's nice to know where your ancestors come from, because it gives you the opportunity to honor those spirits. It gives you the opportunity to honor those spirits. And this is a very important point to make in folk magic practices, or people who are interested in getting involved in, let's say, folk magic. Don't call on somebody else's ancestors. Don't call on somebody else's spirits. Call on your own spirits. Call on your own ancestors. Don't. That's why, okay. It's fine that anyone of any ethnicity is interested in other people's cultures. There's nothing wrong with that. White motherfuckers every single day get up and go practice yoga in an ashram or in a yoga studio. A whole bunch of white bitches, okay? Karens, yoga Karens at the YMCA, showing up to chant in their Lululemon leggings with their pussies hanging out. I used to teach yoga at the YMCA, and it was just so like, when you're trying to teach people how to practice yoga, and these women are all bent over and their legs are all up in the air, and they're wearing these like leggings that they make at Lululemon, and you can like see everything through it. You can see the origin of the world. Some woman lay back, put her legs over her head, does happy baby pose, and you can see the origin of the world. So like, I'm not a pervert or anything. Yes, I am. I'm totally a pervert because I'm a dude. But still, wait a minute. How did we start talking about leggings and Lululemon? How did we start talking about leggings and Lululemon? This doesn't have anything to do with leggings. What was I talking about? I'm so stupid. I was talking about getting back on point. Jesus Christ. Getting back on is the subject. There's nothing wrong with, white people or black people or anybody of any culture who's interested in other people's cultures. There's nothing wrong with that. You see a lot of white guys that are into like Buddhism and Kung Fu and Tai Chi. And I'm going to have a white guy who does Tai Chi and Kung Fu and Jiu Jitsu and martial arts and all that stuff. I'm going to have him as a guest on my show. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think that it's the first place you should start when you start examining your spirituality is your immediate family and ancestors and your ancestral heritage, your ethnic heritage. And start learning about those people, start learning about their culture, start learning about their practices. I got a lot of Catholic ancestors, and I got a lot of Anglican and Methodist ancestors. Lots. And of course, I have lots of ancestors from all over the place because my ancestors were whores. I got a lot of ancestors from a lot of different places, and those people like to fuck. Let me tell you, my ancestors liked to have a lot of sex. I guess it's kind of like why I'm so horny all the time. But that's not the point. The point is that learn about your own ancestors first. And after you learn about, your ancestral inheritance spiritually, then like branch out from there. Any questions, comments, objections? There's nothing else to do but fucking Alaska. Yep. Drink, smoke, and do the nasty. chase the beaver around the iceberg. Probably. Really? Is there a lot of unwanted pregnancies, or so you got all that stuff, huh? Okay. So tonight I'm trying to butter you up for Allie. Hopefully Allie is gonna show up. I don't know if he's having like technical difficulty, testicle difficulty, or what, but we're gonna have to come up with the show. Tonight's show was gonna be about him, and it is about him when he arrives. But in order to butter you guys up and get you ready for him, the other thing that he's going to be talking about is conjure, the conjure tradition. So, what is conjure? In American folk magic, let's just do a quick review of American folk magic practices just for a second, so that we're all on the same motherfucking page. What is American folk magic? American folk magic are the religious and spiritual practices that existed outside of the church by herbalists, magicians, witches, people that practiced other forms of spirituality that is not sanctioned by the church. Like as an example, if you go down to Mexico, okay, most of the people who are in Mexico are going to identify as Catholic. They're going to identify as Catholics. However, along with their Catholicism, there might be clandestine practices like the veneration of Santa Muerte, Saint Death. The Catholic Church has condemned the veneration of or the praying to Santa Muerte as being bad and evil and wrong. You can't do it. However, you can't stamp out the practice. You can't get rid of it because that spirit is a folk saint and is associated with pre-Christian gods and goddesses and the veneration of those ancestral deities that persisted through the colonization process. So you have the official Catholic Church's doctrine, and you have people that go to Catholic Church, right? And they go to Catholic Church and they're good Catholics, but then they also have a statue of Santa Muerte in their house. And let's say every week on Friday night, they'll put out like some tequila for it, okay? That is an example of a clandestine practice that exists outside of the church. Let's talk about it in America during the transatlantic slave trade. Okay. Africans from Central Africa, a lot of Africans from Central Africa, Bantu speaking people from the Congo, and then also Yoruba people from West Africa, Ivory Coast, were brought to the United States. And because they couldn't practice their traditional African religions, and there was forced conversions to Christianity, they abandoned their traditional practices and kept their root working spiritual herbalism alive, and in using the Bible and using spirituals, and eventually forming their own churches like the Black Church. I'm a member of a black church. I'm an African Methodist. I am a Methodist, actually. I'm a member of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. That is my church. I go to the black church. But so, you know, even within the context of the black churches and in the African American communities, there are people who continue to preserve alive traditions that existed in Africa throughout colonization, throughout slavery, throughout Jim Crow, and even up until today. Irish people, fairy doctors, or in England, cunning folk, the herbalists, the spiritual herbalists, the midwives, the men who were responsible for predicting, like, you know, doing card readings, divination. These people existed, and the church tolerated these people. They tolerated these practices. And we recognize all of these practices as being cultural. There's a very strong cultural element that persists because it is part of a culture. It's not necessarily your religion, but it's part of your culture. One of the interesting things I found when I uploaded a video that went viral on TikTok about the Ifa system of divination was I made the mistake of referring to Ifa as a religion. Now, Ifa is a spiritual technology and religion is contained in it. But if you ask somebody from West Africa, a Yoruba person about Ifa, they're going to tell you it's their culture. Because the Odu Ifa, the Holy Odu Ifa, which is a 256 sign system of divination that has 10,000 verses associated with those 256 signs, contains the history of the Yoruba people, stories about dynasties, kingdoms, kings, queens, ancestors, are there traditional medicine practices, prescriptions for animal sacrifice and alms, and also like proverbs about like how to live your life, like the kind of proverbs you would find in the Bible in Proverbs or Ecclesiastes, and songs, oriki, praise poetry, like what you would find in Song of Solomon or the Psalms. So every single culture has their traditional culture, okay? And American folk magic is what everyone practices today. Everyone who practices some form of folk magic is pulling from one of these traditions: fairy doctoring, powwowing, from German folk magic that came from the Pennsylvania Dutch. They weren't Dutch, they were German immigrants, but they were called the Pennsylvania Dutch. So powwowing from German folk magic, cunning folk and cunning craft that came from the English, hoodoo, root work that comes from African American culture. These are all practices that people still practice today. And they're ethnic, they're tied to people's cultural heritage. So that's why it's very important for you to find out, you know, where your people come from so that you can connect with the right stream of consciousness, connect with the right lineage. You want to connect with your people and you want to find out what they practiced if you're interested in practicing this kind of stuff. I got a little German in me. I've got English, I've got Irish, I've got French, I've got Spanish, I've got Portuguese, I've got German, I have Finnish, I have ancestors that came from Sweden, okay? I have Central Africans, I've got Northern Africans, I've got West Africans, I've got Andean Native Americans that come from the Andes in Central America, and I've got the Tainos, who are the Native Americans that were the people that greeted Christopher Columbus when he showed up lost in the Caribbean. I've got a lot of ancestors from a lot of different places. So because I've got so many ancestors, that come from so many different places, I decided to call what I do American folk magic because I'm an American. And even though I'm Hispanic, and even though I'm Puerto Rican, like that's where my lineage comes from. I'm still an American. I'm an American first. And then, you know, I honor all of the ancestors and I venerate all of my ancestors that come from all of their, the places that they come from. You guys got any questions, comments, objections? Got any questions for me? Now is, I'm taking questions. If you got a question about any of this shit, now is your time to drop those comments. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. I know that I've got one person watching me on Rumble. Whoever you are, that one person, is that still you, Robin? Are you still on Rumble or are you on YouTube? Are you on both? Whoever it is that's watching me on Rumble, I am singling you out. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for hanging out with me and watching this stream. Turtle Island. So I have a new book that I'm working on right now, and I'm going to open up that file since you bitches aren't asking me any fucking questions. I was going to tell you a little bit about my new book that's coming out as soon as I get it. I'm in editing mode right now. I did all of my dumping, like all of my content dumping. I dumped that's what I say whenever I just dump mass amounts of content into my writings, into my files, stuff that I've wrote that's like been sitting in my Google Drive for years that I never did anything with. But this particular book, I'm not going to tell you the name of it right now, but it is about my continued spiritual journey, and it is primarily talking about Christian mysticism. So this book is going to be telling you more about my childhood and the way I was raised. It's going to talk about like the similarities between Yoruba cosmology, Ifa cosmology, and the Bible, the Hebrew scriptures. It's going to go into the history of Christian mysticism. And then it's going to talk about the Great Awakenings. Because we're in the middle of a Great Awakening right now. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. We're in the middle of another Great Awakening. This right now would be considered the fifth Great Awakening to me. Then I'm going to be talking about John Weasley's Christian Perfection, because I'm a Methodist and I've done a lot of deep diving into Methodism. I'm going to be talking about like the Methodist tradition. I'm going to be talking about root work. I'm going to be talking about hoodoo, and I'm going to be talking about my African American ancestors. I'm going to be talking about Reverend Bishop Allen, who is the founder of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. I'm going to be talking about Christian existentialism, Søren Kierkegaard. We're going to be talking about magical oils. We're going to be talking about anointing oils, the Bible's use in folk magic. There's a whole chapter about the King James Bible, its history, and like the language used in it. There's going to be a chapter on how to set up a home altar for meditation, prayer, and study. And then I'm going to talk about the Wesleyan Quadrilateral, which is the way Methodists examine the Bible for study and for interpretation. And then I'm going into music. We're going to be talking about music. We're going to be talking about how music affects the soul. And we're going to be talking about gospel music, and we're going to be talking about blues music. And then the last part of my book, I'm really focusing in on men. I'm focusing in on men and relationships between men, how men can cultivate and develop deeper relationships with other men. I don't mean gay shit. I mean like friendships, how to not be lonely, how to find companions, how to find companionship, and how to like have a brotherhood. Regardless of what your sexual orientation, doesn't matter. But talking about male bonding and deep male friendships, comparing Yoruba culture, how men find friendships and maintain lifelong relationships within Yoruba culture, because I am highly influenced by Yoruba culture. And that is going to be that. The Great Awakening, yeah. Do you know it? Oh, hold on. Wait a second. Hey, bro.
Hey, I've been here for a minute. I was just listening to.
Yo, I'm sorry. I was running my mouth for a
No,
second
no.
and I
You
didn't
gotta
see
do.
that
You
you
gotta
had
do.
jumped in.
Yes.
Everybody, yo, look, this is Allie from TikTok. What's happening?
Here to cause problems. Let's cause the problems, the confusion. Let's do it.
Look,
We know what this is about, man.
I've been buttering these people up for like a whole half an hour talking about all kinds of stuff,
Right.
spiritualism,
I was really.
conjure. I was telling them about stuff. And so, welcome. You have a great TikTok channel or
Yeah.
profile. I don't know. Y'all bitches know I'm not on TikTok anymore, right? Like I left that shit.
Yeah, man. You jetted. They're celebrating your exit, your banishment, whatever.
I ain't never going back.
Yeah, I don't knock you for that, man. You got a lot of work to do over here. So
Yeah, I do. But you have a really, really great profile, and I want to encourage everybody to go check you out if
hey,
they're on
I
TikTok
appreciate
to see your work. That's how I found you. I started following you on there, and I really, really love your work on
it. Yeah,
Conjure. Um,
one of Conjure's best kept secrets here.
yeah,
So we're
and
gonna get
so
to it.
let's talk about it. I want you to like introduce yourself to the audience and tell us about yourself, like where your
Okay.
life, like how you got involved, or like
Um. Yes. Well, I got my start basically, and I would say I was a conduit of sorts before becoming a conjure man, and finding out at the age of around 9 that I had a caretaker, and that's a spirit guide. And I was really creeped out because I was really into horror movies back then. And seeing a ghost for the first time, I can't say that I was speechless, but really I was in awe. And that day pretty much changed the trajectory of my life from that point. And early on, seeing some of the folk practices um, that were kept secret, sort of like a um, closet belief. Um, and it wasn't as open as now, of course, you know. So I was always intrigued. I also went on to learn about different um, religions. I've practiced. I'm gonna say I've been practicing this independently since 2014. And I
mm-hmm.
started with symbolism. I started with dream interpretations. I went on to do some of my first small spells, I would say in 2015, 16. And then I took off. I always just wanted to take it to another level. So um, I know that's become sort of like a taboo in traditional hoodoo. So I'm going to say that I renounce hoodoo.
Oh, Hold up, wait a second. Hold on. Okay,
Let's
wait,
go
I
with
gotta
that.
go
I'm a
back.
hoodoo defector. I'm a hoodoo defector at this point because it's at this point it's too political, and I feel like it's um, stagnant.
Okay.
And I don't see my conjure that way. I see my conjure as concept conjure, radical conjure, and I push the limits. I want to take on these challenges that people pose. Even though we're spiritualists and we know we're spiritualists and we know the limits of things and how things work, I still am up for the challenge, you know, and I want to really push the limit on this thing.
Let me ask you a question. Because I had talked a little bit earlier about hoodoo, and specifically because I was talking about American folk magic. I call what I do American folk magic because
American folk magic, which I don't want to
because
say hoodoo's American folk magic. Yes, it was.
well, yes,
It
African
has roots
American.
in the East. It has roots in various places.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, it is American folk magic, if you will.
Well,
And
the thing is we know that hoodoo comes from traditional practices that come from
yes,
Africa. There are traditional practices,
some part of it comes from Africa. Yes.
but when we're talking about, I'm talking about motherfuckers in 2025 today. I don't really feel like
Right.
anyone that practices Wicca, witchcraft, hoodoo, root work, like whatever it is, Santeria, anything. I don't see any of these people practicing what I would consider like a pure stream,
Oh no,
anything.
and
That's
that's
what
what they sell. They
yeah.
sell that. They market that. This is traditional. I've been in these sort of discussions before on TikTok, where I had one lady say that she practices traditional hoodoo.
What does that mean?
And then I want to say this too. Another argument was I posed that hoodoo is an umbrella term. I guess they didn't know what that meant. And an umbrella term um, over various sub practices or subspecialties of conjure. So I got some backlash for calling it an umbrella term. But it's even a generic term, if you will. If you want to go that far, it can even be seen as a generic term. I mean, we're not really clear if it came from the uh, West African hoodoo term or the Irish hoodoo origin, or was it an improper expression of voodoo? You know, and some people even relate it to the hoodoo ridges and some regions of the U.S. But who knows the origin of the very term hoodoo? And is it a generic term? You know, and it's so problematic if you ask me. So I just don't think I'm going to go with that branding anymore. I want to really push my own radical conjure at this point, and I'm up for the challenge. You said a lot of there's a lot of liability coming here and being associated with you, and I'm
Yes,
up
there
for that
is.
challenge. I'm
Yes,
up for
there
that
is.
challenge. And look, man, you've been cool with me,
Yeah.
so that's one thing I am. I'm going to be a loyal friend. I'm going to
Thank you.
respect that and appreciate that you gave me a chance and opportunity to as well. So
I appreciate that.
I'm here, man.
Yeah. Well, people like to talk mad shit about me, and that's okay. I don't mind. What I want is I want people to come to my platform and I want them to listen to me. I want them to watch
Right.
my videos. I want them to watch my live streams, and then they can determine for themselves whether or not I'm someone that they want to listen to or not.
Right.
That's it. You make up your own damn mind. Watch me, listen to me, and then decide whether you want to listen to me. And if you don't like the shit that I say, then you don't have to listen. You don't have to watch. That's how it works. At least
Right.
growing up. We're not young. We're not spring chickens anymore. We're grown ass men. We are grown ass men.
Right on.
But
Right on.
so, okay, I'm going to ask a highly controversial question then, and I'm gonna put you
I'm here
on the
for
spot.
it. I'm here for it.
White people practicing hoodoo, is that a taboo, or are you just saying
Um,
you don't give a fuck what people do?
okay, okay. Because when we talk about hoodoo, and all right, so I want to separate this. I want to say some people should have exclusivity to their own traditional family practices or their custom specialties. Okay, but when it comes to the whole branding of hoodoo or the whole spiritual practice of hoodoo, I don't see it as closed. And we talked about this before. The whole culturally bound is more proper to me. It's more uh, befitting of hoodoo than to say it's a closed practice. And then we've had these discussions about initiations. Yes, some people have been initiated, but in general, no. So I don't see hoodoo as a closed practice, but I'm like, as a now hoodoo defector, I'm stepping
What?
away.
So
If
what?
they're
So
going to
when you
close it,
okay,
I don't want to be locked up in there with them.
okay. So when you say you're a hoodoo defector, what does that mean? Like, tell us
Okay.
what actually
Um,
made you the defector? Where did you?
I feel like at this point I'm trying to take my conjure to places that they seem to find taboos in. I I'm I'm at this point I'm doing bondage spells on girls.
Oh,
I'm doing love spells.
woo!
Not even bondage at this point. So I'm I'm into. I'm gonna show you some of the things. Maybe I'll show you some of the work I have here. I brought, but um, I just don't want to. I just can't conform to their social construct. And to me, my practice, I want it to be free. I want it to evolve. I want it to progress. I want to push the limits on it, and I don't want these restrictions. And I feel like hoodoo, a lot of people do want traditional hoodoo. They do want to see the old school hoodoo, which I respect. My mother, adoptive mother, but I say mother, she's from North Carolina, and you could see it in her culture.
Mhm.
Just the home remedies, the basic root work, the beliefs
Right,
are
right.
there. And I've seen
Mhm.
more.
Yeah,
But um, this at this point, my conjure is unrecognizable to the yo. So I just feel like it'll be fair to me in the hoodoo community for me to just pack it up and go my own route. You know?
right. So one of my best friends in the plant on the planet is Mama Sunfire. If you guys don't know who
Yes,
she is, Mama
I
Sunfire, Sophia, and she teaches her traditional root work and her
right,
traditional hoodoo, and she teaches that, and she is a Black woman who wants to teach her practice to Black people, and I
mm,
think that that is fucking fantastic. I think that is great. If you have a particular group of people that you want to teach your practice to because it is
right,
you, it is your closed practice. It belongs to you and your family. Even if she decided that she was only going to teach other Black women and she wasn't even going to teach men, let's say she wanted to teach just people of her gender, I think that's
right.
just fine too. Because I think everybody has the right to decide who they want to share their mysteries with.
That's right.
Um, and like
I can
you,
agree with that. And
I
I have
don't,
an
yeah.
admiration for her too as well. I've caught onto some of her content, and yes, I admire her too. And she's very wise, it seems.
She's wise.
So a
She's a
lot of
very,
respect
very
for this one.
powerful woman.
Yes,
Very strong woman, and she knows exactly what she's talking about. She knows exactly what she's talking about. But then on the same hand, like you said, hoodoo has become like this commercialized thing where you get on Amazon and you type in hoodoo, million fucking books on hoodoo will pop up,
Yeah,
written by all kinds of different people, you know?
right, right.
So to
And
me, that's a problem. Like when somebody buys 5, 6, 7, 8 books on hoodoo written by different people, including white authors, and they start
right.
practicing it and they're into it and they're practicing all this stuff. Then they get on TikTok and suddenly people are like, "Oh no, you can't do that anymore." And
So
there's this guy who has there's this guy. He is an African American guy, and he's got something called the Hoodoo Academy. Have you heard of Hoodoo Academy, guy?
no, but I'm not surprised.
You can join his Hoodoo Academy, and he'll give you a certificate of completion when you finish his program, right? And he's like,
Right.
he's done this, and like people of all different ethnicities have gone through like his hoodoo program or hoodoo college. And when you got people doing stuff like that, it's like that when the word close just kind of like, once the ketchup gets out of the bottle, you're not putting the ketchup back in the bottle, you know?
Right. Right. It is. I agree with you now. It's in movies. It's just so commercialized at this point. I don't know how do you close something like that, but
So tell us
it's
about
on them now.
you. Tell us
It's
about you and your conjure and your spiritualism. How are you approaching your life and how are you approaching your practice?
um okay. So I actually um took a few years off, and about 4 months ago, I jumped back into it. Really, like as far as the work, I was spying on you guys early on, but I started to jump back into my work, and um, I really picked up where I left off, and it's taken off. And this obsession with me. I like to obsess over my work. I don't know how it's going to end. Maybe disastrous, but I'm willing to see. I've seen so many wonders in this world, and I'm sure you have. And we haven't lived the typical lives, and I
Yeah,
don't think we would want to at this point. You know,
I don't.
I
Where do
as
you
I
find
told
your
you.
inspiration from though? Where do you pull your inspiration from? Do you find inspiration like really
Okay.
rooted in African, or do you also add like grimoires? Like what where
The
do
the
you
the
feel
reason
inspired?
I fell into the whole hoodoo category um was the fact that I still use hoodoo or conjures coding when I practice. The very basis and principle of my practice is still conjure, it's still hoodoo, you know. And I would say I built from that. I started with very basic spell work, traditional, if you will, as close as you could get traditional off of Amazon nowadays. We're
Mm-hmm.
not out in the fields, digging up crops anymore, but as close to that as I could get. And I built on that. And I think every spiritualist should be a journalist. You
Mm-hmm.
see? So I write down, okay, I told you about the hoodoo bloopers before. I write down, okay, so this girl went crazy. So next time I won't put so much of that in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this thing has been. It's been a path of journalism as well as spiritualism, but it's an experiment as well. So I want to challenge the taboos, the limits, um, and I have a few I have a few conflicts going on as well. I have a couple of spiritual wars as well going on, but I
Yeah.
got them in my jars, so I'm not worried about that.
You put those
That's
bitches
what
in
I
a
want to
jar.
talk to you about.
Tell me
I,
about it.
I want to talk to you about strategies
Oh,
in spiritual warfare.
oh, yes, we can talk about that. I like that. We want to talk about it? We're going to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we hear a lot about backfiring. We hear a lot about we talked about karma before. I don't necessarily accept the idea of karma, but I understand, the concept. But I'd say when I do a working, I'll give a little bit here. When I do a working on someone, I might, okay, I'll say this. My specialty would be love spells for the most part. That's where I find the most success. Okay. So I might come down that road when I'm doing, we don't call it baneful work or hexing. We'll call it fixing someone, But okay, so for example, I have this one girl. So we got into a little issue. And so I am using love workings to fix her, if you will. So what'll happen to her here soon, if not already, is she'll become promiscuous, and she'll start to sleep with uh, just about any guy she's attracted to, or in an uncontrolled way.
Okay.
And
Ow. Ouch.
yeah, yes.
Ouch.
So when I do it, because I'm already strong in love spells.
Yes.
Now let's say I do have protections, but let's say for some reason, because we know with spells, sometimes they get messy. So spells get messy sometimes, and that's where we have this discussion about karma. But sometimes it's the cross contamination and the fallout from the spell. Okay. We see this a lot in the spiritual wellness business, where people will get undesired results sometimes because you have the handlers, the business marketeers there. They'll recycle materials. They'll burn candles in close proximity to other candles. They'll use remnants from past spells in someone's spell. Okay, so we know where that can go. And we are not as meticulous as the spirits. So we don't thread we basically when we form a spell, we're going straight to that result. But there's a lot of steps leading to that result, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no two spells work the same, right? And if I did a spell, I'm gonna go off track. If I did a spell for two different people, okay, I do a spell for, I don't want to even name a very powerful person per se, but let's say I do a spell for a big, uh, influential person, okay, and I do a spell for the guy who's down on his luck. This is going to work differently for the two of them. They say, okay, so one guy comes to me and he says, Ali, I want a spell to take over the world. And another guy comes to me who has more resources and says, I want a spell to take over the world. Well, this guy ends up with a big deal with import and export, and this guy ends up getting a globe from somebody's garage after they cleaned it out. That's how spells work. So they're based on things that are going on around you. What do you have in your holding? You understand? Even if you're talking about harmful work or fixing someone, that spirit has to evaluate what they have going on around them. Is this person a gang member? Do they abuse drugs? Do they have any health issues? Anything that I can exploit or expose? You understand? So,
yeah, 100%. So, like, can I piggyback on what you're saying
yeah,
right now and throw some information out there? Because I don't have a problem telling people about like my practices. For one
right,
thing, I just want everybody to know I am not in the business of hexing, cursing, and jinxing people.
right,
Even
right,
people who come after me in a negative way, or people who have cast magic against me in a negative way, I've got a lot of spiritual protections. I've got a lot of warding around me. I work with a lot of spirits. If somebody tries to do magic on me, they tell me, like, you can't get away with trying to do something on me or put your finger on me. That's what I call it. If I was gonna touch someone, that would mean that I would hex, curse, or jinx somebody, put my finger down on them. If someone tries to put their finger down on me, one of my spirits is going to tell me. I'm going to know. I'm going to find out. They're either going to tell me in a dream, or the next time I cast divination, they're going to let me know that somebody's gunning for me. Okay. And even though I'm not in the business of hexing and cursing and jinxing and stuff like that, let's just say we're going to do hypothetical situation. We're going to do hypothetical. Okay. And I want to go ahead and tell people out there, do not try this shit at home.
Definitely.
No, this is just for information purposes only, just so you know. Let's say there was somebody that I didn't like very much, and someone who was actively trying to do something against me. I am all about offensive magic, and I'm all about defensive magic. Let me tell you the difference between someone who's hexing and cursing and jinxing. When you use the word hex, curse, and jinx, you're saying, I don't like that bitch. I don't like that person. I'm going to do something out of a vindictive or malicious intent, okay? But when you are protecting yourself offensively, when you're trying to do an offensive move to prevent negative things from happening to you from somebody else, like somebody at work that you can already tell they're going to be a problem for you, okay? Or you know that someone is actively attacking you, defending yourself magically is an empowering thing. Why would you study magic if you don't use it to defend yourself, right? Absolutely. So I am not a love and light motherfucker in any way, shape, or form. Not at all. We're not about the love and light stuff around here. But let's say there was somebody at my work, and I knew that this person had it out for me, that they were going to try to do something negative to me because I do divination on this person. I don't ask people's permission to do divination on them. Fuck that shit. If I want to know something about you, I'm going to do divination on you. I don't give a fuck. If I do divination and I ask my spirits, if I ask Eshu, is this person got it out for me, Eshu? Is this person trying to do something to me? Like, is there a negative situation that could happen in the future with this person? And the answer is yes. Then I can do work. And if I know that this person, let's say, drinks too much, they drink heavy, or I know that they go out on the weekends and then they party hard, okay? I know something about this person. I know that they have a weakness when it comes to their alcohol consumption. So I can do a working that is, like what you said, increase the odds that they are going to drink more.
Exactly.
Right? So here's the deal. So I might, let's say I can't get a clipping of their hair, or I don't have some kind of nail, or I don't have anything with their DNA on it. I don't have any kind of physical material, because in the old days, that's what you tried to get something of theirs in order to do work on. If I don't have that, then I'm going to pick some kind of representation that is going to represent that person, their name, their birthday, if that's something that I can find out. Or
and most of the time, that's easy.
That is easy.
With social media today, right?
You can find that person on Facebook. You print out a picture of their motherfucking profile picture. And you take that print out of that person's face and you slap it on a glass, okay? You slap it on a glass and you put it out there on whatever your altar is where you do that kind of magic. Because remember, you don't do this kind of stuff on your ancestor altar. You keep this shit separate. We don't mix, okay? Whatever altar you do, your working magic altar, you get whatever liquor you know that person likes, and you sit it right beside their face. You put it right beside that glass. And every time you go to do spiritual work, you take a little bit of that liquor and you pour a little bit of liquor in that glass, and you say, go ahead, Jill, drink. Go ahead, John, have a drink.
Right.
I know
Correct.
you want to have a drink tonight. And that that spoken word, that power in the word, that
Mm.
travels, that's frequency, that's vibration. So when you're directing that vibration, when you're directing that intent, when you're directing those words towards a person, that's where that Wi-Fi signal comes in. That's
You
where
can
that
fix
interference comes.
someone. You can fix someone just by frowning on their photo.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna say this: uh, when it comes to, if we want to call it spiritual warfare, I just look at it as purging. But
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to that, when it comes to spiritual warfare, I'm going to go for, it's like almost like boxing. I'm going to shoot a jab, right? I'm going to go for that thing I know is going to work right now, fast. I'm going to get it going right away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people are going to go for those big atomic spells right off top. But me, I'm going to go for that thing I know it's going to get you moving right now. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move you. I'm going to make, if you're protected, I'm going to make somebody in your family move or go missing. But
Right.
I'm gonna make a move. That's the first thing I'm going to do. All right. And then I'm going to do stuff as I told you earlier. I'm going to do love spells. I'm going to put them in my little bitty love spells.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, something like this, just a little jar like this. It's actually a woman I got a relationship going on with right now. And so I'm gonna put them in something like this, and I'm going to work them. I'm going to make it a little more zesty, spicy, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have him um, become very promiscuous, which there a lot of these women are already exposed to that. So I'm just going to accelerate what she's already doing.
Right. That's the
Okay,
whole thing
so
about the
now
alcohol.
at some point, maybe she'll realize, wait, something's wrong. My friends are talking. I'm acting out of character. I've never done this. Maybe something's wrong. Okay. So my setup is I have an ace in the hole. Now, I never killed anybody with any work, but I've worked them. I've done phenomenal stuff with this, but I've never killed anybody with this work. But my caretaker has about 8 bodies.
Look,
My
let me tell you
caretaker,
something.
my spirit guide, has about
L-
eight
let,
bodies.
let me tell you something.
So I want them to provoke. Excuse me, Ryan. I want them to provoke my caretaker by
Mm,
posing a harm to me,
mm.
by posing aggression towards me. That's how I'm going to lure them into provoking. I'm going to lure them into provoking my caretaker to take action.
Okay. All
And
right.
and so I'll do things like this, the jabs. And then if they ever react to that, then that's when the heat will be turned up.
I hear you. I feel you. That sounds good. I mean, like, I just wanted to say something about like when you do some kind of magic that might end result in like something happening that is negative, okay, for
Mm.
someone in a bad way. Here's the thing. If you want to fuck with me and I turn around
Mm.
and the energy that you're sending me, the intention that you're putting on me, if I do a reversal, or if I do a return to sender, or if I send that shit back and it breaks your fucking face,
Mm.
or you break your leg, or you get in a car
There you
accident,
go.
or it hits your dog, or it hits your cat, or it hits your boyfriend, and something happens to them and they end up in the hospital, or they end up yeeted, that is not my fucking problem. And I know that sounds really, really, really like, oh, that's so cold. That's cold. That's cruel. Like, how could you? No, like, whatever intention that you're putting on me, if I direct that energy back to you, it is going to come back to you, and it is going to come back to you with some force.
Right.
And if that
Right.
force takes you out, that is
Yeah.
not my problem.
And this is another thing. So let's say we're having these open, it's going to happen. I don't have that many enemies in my personal life. I told you that before, but TikTok would do it for you. So all of a sudden, I have maybe a few possible. But I'm going to say this: we're spiritualists. we're spiritualists, okay? So when people are going to war, when that's happening, what do you expect to happen as a spiritualist? There's two people hexing or fixing one another. There's there's possibilities out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So okay, in this case, you might be unfavorable. Maybe they want the other person to come out on top. But we're all spiritualists, so we understand this thing. We don't we can't resort to we understand that someone can die. Someone harm can be brought to someone. So we have to be able to stomach this as spiritualists. And that's what I prepared myself for. I watched TikTok before I posted that first video. Before I get on someone's post and comment, I know we're egotistical. So someone can go off and say, "Hey, well, I've totally agreed with people, and they still argue with me up there."
Mm-hmm.
So it can happen. And if they block me, I'm going to work on them. If we argue, I'm going to work. I'm just going to assume they're going to work on me. I mean, let's just be real. Look, if they block me, I'm going to work. So anybody who blocked me has to know that we're working. That's it. Um, but anyway, I have things like this which have turned totally dark. This was a protection bottle, but it's taking a few hits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have a few of my love spells. Of course, I brought along, and one of the spells I can't show you the contents of this one, but this is a lucky Mojo conjure bottle here.
Okay.
I took this one to Fort Lauderdale to the casino, and it's actually causes interferences with machines, and sometimes it causes lights to flicker.
Oh, wow.
I treat it as it's electrical. Actually, that's the way I treat that one.
Now,
Yeah.
do you do work for hire? Like, will you take clients? Will you
Yes.
make
Okay.
mojo for
So
people?
I told you I took a break in 2021. It was really on the border of 2022. So I got a rush, and I really need to organize more with the handling of shipping stuff out, and because I know I'm not organized in that area where I could really manage a large crowd of people because I take care of each one like it's a child.
Right, right. Me
I
too.
don't want to jack this up. I want to get it as close to that result as possible. And
Hmm.
so I look at each spell as if it's a child,
That's good. So
and
you do
and I have to
custom
take
work.
care of it that way. And I don't know how I would be able to do
You can't.
20 and 20, 50 in a day. I don't know.
You can't. I don't. So that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing about this kind of work. Like if you go to Salem, Massachusetts, that's witch capital of the world. That's where all, that's like, like the most famous place you can go is Salem, Massachusetts. And if you go to Salem, Massachusetts and you walk in any of those witch shops, there are like bottles and bottles and bottles of spells, bottles of mojo, love spells, protection spells. Like it's like Harry Potter. It's like fucking Harry Potter. It's just like all of this stuff, and I don't see how. I know people buy that because they're on vacation and they don't know any better, but I don't know how
Right.
magic like that can work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Yeah. And this is where a lot of the cross contamination and all of that stuff happens right there, because you have so many spells in a small space, and then you're handling so much at one time. It's like that time I got food poisoning at that Mexican restaurant because someone was like handling the chicken and the lettuce. I'm a vegetarian, but my friends were eating, different stuff, and we all got food poisoning, and we had to use pickle juice. Well, I did, and garlic. But we it's the same idea with the cross contamination, spell to spell. A lot of times these spells will go aloof because certain colors, just like love spells. We've seen tragic ends to love spells. People keep telling me, Ali, don't do those things. Right? So love spells. But we've seen that end horribly. We've seen murder suicides and that sort of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have those hoodoo bloopers where a love spell can turn to something else.
Yes. That's
And
why
if
I don't do love spells. For ain't no motherfuckers are gonna get any kind of love work out of me. I'm not gonna be
I'll
responsible
do the
for
love
that
spells.
shit.
Don't worry. Send them to me.
I'm gonna send anybody that asks me for a motherfucking love spell.
Yeah.
I am sending in your direction
Send
immediately.
them to me. Love conquers all.
Love will fuck you up.
Yeah. Love conquers all. It's my
You
specialty.
you said murder, suicide. You said love, murder, homicide. That would be me. That
It
would be how my
happens.
love spell ends up.
The liabilities of these things,
Oh yeah,
happen.
they're real.
It happens, and I think that's mismanagement too by the in the hands of the practitioner. So, yeah, and I could easily look at a love spell and see how it could go that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Just by the materials that you're putting in, the colors that you're using.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to see that if such a thing is mishandled, how it can go another way. Sometimes you get double results from a spell.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get the love thing, but then it sours.
Yeah. And so what I have found,
You get the wrath thing as well.
In any kind of magic that you perform, for people that are interested in starting to learn how to practice magic, you have to have a target, and the target has to be specific. You have to be as specific as you can when it comes to how you're crafting and putting together your work. You want to be specific, because when you are not specific, so here's the thing. This is how magic works for me. And Ali, you can tell me whether or not you feel the same way. Okay. The way magic works for me, this is how I feel magic works. When I do a magical act, I am telling the universe, this is what I want to happen. Whether you want to call it God, the universe, the spiritual world, the astral plane, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. Okay. It doesn't matter to me. When I'm spellcasting, I am telling the universe and the spiritual world what I want to happen. So if I just say, if there's somebody that you just want somebody dead, I want that person to die. I want that fucking person to die. I want them to die, and you go down that route, then whether or not a piano falls on their head, or they fall off a cliff, or they get shot when they walk into 7-Eleven by somebody, doesn't fucking matter, right? But when you're talking about money, and when you're talking about love, which is why I don't do the love shit, you got to be really specific with that stuff, because you don't know what's going to happen. You can say you want somebody to love, fall in love, but if you're not careful, they might end up loving the wrong person. You might try to do a love spell on somebody to fall in love with you. They might fall in love with your brother instead. Okay. Because you fucked up.
Okay. So I did a love attraction spell. This could have been in April time frame. So I did a love attraction spell. And I used the particular photo. I have it posted on TikTok. And I got it off of the internet. It was a photo of this Queen of Sheba, the Queen of Sheba. So I take this photo and I said, wow, that's the idea. You know, that's the ideal woman. So I take this photo and I put it into my workings, my love attraction work. So about a week later, I meet this girl. We have an instant connection, and she looks so familiar. And it turns out once I compare her photo to the Queen of Sheba, which was it was just some art. The Queen of Sheba, of course, it wasn't the actual depiction of her. No one knows how she really looked. It was just some artist online. And and I said, wow. But the thing about this girl, she kept her name was Betty. I'll just say it now. I don't care. I got all of them under bondage at this point. I don't care. Actually, they should be watching. Somebody should be watching this. But just the thing about it, right? So at the end of the day, I get this girl named Betty, and she just like she's going after me. She's obsessing, and then she stops, and she's turning me away, or she just disappearing, and then she's coming back. So I said, I know what I need. I need a love binding spell. So this time, I want to dominate the girl. So I look online and I find this photo of Ike Turner and Tina Turner. Ike and Tina
Oh,
Turner.
Lord.
And Ike is actually in this photo. I have this on the TikTok. And Ike is looking at her like, you know, hey, anime, focus on that camera, you know, that whole thing, you know the whole movie where he tells her to eat the cake. So I'm like, that's the kind of power I want because I've never had that. I've never been that kind of guy. Okay, so I'm in such a simp. So this is what I want to do. I don't want to do simp magic. I want to be Ike Turner this time. So I'm like, okay, I put this in my workings. I meet a totally different girl who's very submissive. And she's wearing the Tina Turner wig. This is crazy, no joke. I put it on the TikTok. So her name is Betty because I overly used the name Betty in my workings.
That's hysterical.
So Betty, wow. So now I got this Betty that's clicking on and off, and I got this one that's going to do whatever I say. So I'm being two different people with these two different girls.
Mm.
So I said, no, no, no. I want the initial Betty to be a little more spicy with me, a little hot, sultry. I want her to be that way with me. So I do another working on the initial Betty, and I get a third Betty that's a turnout freak. So this is what I'm saying. I got freaking.
You got three
You
Bettys.
see the bloopers in here.
You got three Bettys.
Yes. And so I'm not really complaining. I continue to do love spells. I'm going to work that same Betty again here. I got another one I actually told her I was working her. She didn't take me serious. And she actually said, oh, that's so cute. I said, okay.
That's so cute, but you still ended up over here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the bloopers of this whole thing. I remember in year 2000, it was 2021. So I was doing this luck working, and I got this cousin of mine to, well, I just couldn't keep it. I have a big mouth. So this container, believe it or not, initially it sounded like the ocean, but over time it started to sound like a storm in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just couldn't keep my mouth shut about it. I was so excited. And I told my cousin, Alvin, I told him, hey, you know what? If you write out a petition, this was some amateur mistake I made. I'll put it in here. and I guarantee you'll have luck here, because he likes to play the lottery, scratch off tickets. So I did it, and almost instantly he hit 4 tickets in a row. He hit 4 in a row.
Oh, wow.
So he had the hottest week. I mean, he became like an addict for, he, anytime I see him in North Carolina, we go down there and visit family. A lot of my family originates from there. So we'll go there, and he's like, "Hey man, you got another one of them things for me?"
I need one of them things.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Ryan, you need to let me do a love spell for you, man. We gotta
Oh
get some
no! Oh no!
work.
No! 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 No!
I do
No!
not
No! You
have
can make you. We
permission.
can do a
I do
money
not
spell
have
for
permission
me.
to do that.
You got permission to do as many money spells as you want, but no love spells. Okay, we're done with all that.
Yeah,
Hoo-ha. No more.
right. Someone
I'm a
told me.
monk.
Someone told me, and I ran with it. Someone told me, because I'm a Taurus, it may make my love spells more effective, because Taurus are ruled over by the planet Venus. They went on. I know very little about the zodiac,
Yes.
and they told me that's why I have a lot of results in that area, pretty good results. Some of them go aloof, but it's all we have to deal with the liabilities in that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
That's true. Yeah, astrology does have a part to play in spirituality. It's not something that's something I teach in my mentorship program. It's not something I talk about often, because it's not super complicated, but it can be complicated. And I just want to put this out there, because I want to go back to, like, if you're going to work on somebody, or you're going to put your finger on somebody, and you can find out like where they come from, like where they were born, and you can find out what their birthday is. If you're an astrologer, let's say you're into astrology, and you're into like reading people's birth charts, so you can read someone's birth chart. What you can do is you can run that person's name, birthday, and location of birth, and if you know their time of birth. So this is the whole thing. Like, this kind of work is a little bit more complicated, because it's the kind of stuff you do like on an ex-wife. This is the kind of stuff you do like
Don't
on
go
an
there.
ex-partner.
Hey, you're gonna get in trouble.
For
You're
real.
starting it.
I'm telling them how to do it. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you how to do it. No mysteries, no secrets here. If you know that person's date of birth, time of birth, and location of birth, you can run that person's birth chart. You can see their whole fucking life right in front of you, with what's going on with their planets. And if they have weak planets in different areas of life, that's what you attack. If you're going to go on spiritual attack against somebody, that's why you never tell anybody your birthday. That's why you never tell anybody what time you were born. Those are things that are secret. Those are things that are special. Those are things that are just for you. But if you can read somebody's birth chart, and you know that they've got an afflicted Venus, that means their Venus doesn't do very well for them. That means they already don't have a lot of luck and love. Then you can hit them in that area of their life, because they already are walking around with a deficiency in that area of their life. Those are things that you can see in someone's birth chart if you know how to run a birth chart and you know how to read their birth chart. And so that is another thing. That is definitely another aspect that you can use if you're doing that kind of work. Yes. But it's also the kind of thing that you can use if you're trying to help somebody. So like if somebody came to me and said, I got so many problems and I don't know why I keep experiencing the problems that I'm experiencing, I'm like, let's do your birth chart. So let's run your birth chart. Let's look at your birth chart and let's see what your birth chart says. Where are your planets? What is your astrology? What is your birth chart say about like your destiny and how these planets are interacting with you? And one of the things that astrologers do are astrological remedies, where you make like mojo, or you make talisman, or you make some kind of other icons or stuff to give to that person that is going to help them with their afflictions when it comes to the deficiencies that they're walking around with. Like I knew a woman that needed spiritual protection. She was also someone that I was working with as a spiritual initiate. I went to church, and from the first day that I had ever attended the church that I go to, I sat down in the pew and I looked in front of me, and you know how they have like the place for the pew Bible and for the song book to be sitting there, the praise book to be sitting there. Well, there was a woman's earring that was sitting right in between the Bible and in between the songbook. And it was a woman's earring, and it was a piece of wood. It looked like it was like a piece of wood earring and a crayon, and a green crayon. So it was like obviously some kid and some woman were sitting in that pew, and it was sitting there right between the Bible and the songbook. And I just stared at it throughout the service because I'm like, I wonder if anybody's ever going to come back and get this earring. Well, I literally went to church for 4 months, and every single time I went to church, I sit in the same place, and that earring and that crayon was still sitting there. It sat there for 6 months, at least 6 months. This earring and this crayon is sitting right where I sit on Sundays when I go to church. And I said, you know what? If I come back next Sunday and that shit is still there, it is mine. And I am putting that into a charm. I am putting that into a doll. And what I did was I went back the next week. It was sitting there. I took it. I went home because that's spiritually charged. You know, that crayon and that earring has been sitting in church for like 6 months with all the songs and all the prayers and all the energy and all the spirit, because that's what it is. It's energy. So I literally did. I took that earring and I took that crayon and bloop, put it right into a poppet, right into the belly poppet, tied it up, everything, and prayed over it, consecrated it, and all the stuff. And then I gave it to my friend for protection. But that's kind of like how that works. That's
I was sitting here. I was just working on a little bit of I'm not going to call it a poppet, but one for myself. I'm going to work myself.
Oh, what are you going to do to yourself?
Well, mostly I'm going to do health protection, spiritual cleansing, stuff like that for myself. I'm laying out more protection work now, and I see where this whole thing is going to go.
Let me ask you a question.
Messing with guys like you, I'm going to have them up.
No, the thing is that I'm harmless. I am harmless. I'm 100%
harmless. No, not against you, but being associated with you. You know what?
Oh.
That night, we talked for about 4 hours, man.
Yeah.
And it's like they were working you underneath the storm. It was like, boom. And we were on the phone. They said,
you remember my lights flickered.
Yeah, man. They were working. Listen, they said some spirit told him to come back and apologize. I was that spirit. I told you, man, I think you should go ahead, and smooth it over, not for them, but out of respect for the deceased. And you expressed that you also regretted making the video. And I know all about it, jumping out there saying things. I said things tonight that I'm probably going to look at and say, dag, I shouldn't have told my girlfriend I put the love spell on her and everything down the line.
That's all right. It's all
you
right.
know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
we are like that. We get overly expressive sometimes, and there must have been a lot of emotional things going on in you in that moment when it happened, and you took to, and it, you know what?
Oh, I don't. The problem with me is that I don't have the ability to shut up. That is my problem. I have to really, really, really work hard to keep this mouth under control. Because if I'm in a particular kind of mood and I'm feeling some kind of way and you hand me my phone, then more than likely I'm going to start talking mad shit and making videos about it, publishing those videos, and then like all bets are off. And then I have just 100% screwed myself. And every single time I get into trouble like that, every time I get canceled, and I can't tell you how many times I've been canceled. Every time I fuck around to find out and get canceled, it's because I'm in some kind of mood and I don't have anybody that I live with to take my camera away and prevent me from doing it. I did have someone in my life, a woman in my life that I was with, who would take my phone away and say, no, you're not making a video right now. I don't have anybody like that in my life. But yeah.
And so it happens, and that's social media. We get up there. I regret some things I've done. I was able to take down, but you left, and the remnants of what you did were still there. The ghost of Ryan was still around.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, it's okay, man. You know, you did it. They worked you all night. I was on the phone comforting you through the storm, man. And so it happens, you know. And
yeah.
you know, but there's some pretty cool people I met up there in spiritual talk, witch talk, and so on. And you're one of them. And I hope to make more connections as you know. I get out there more myself, and we know, you know, we're always going to have those egos that we're going to encounter, and sometimes I have an ego too. Sometimes I say just nonsense as well. So sometimes I jump
If you
up.
don't have a strong ego, though, you can't practice magic.
Yeah,
You can't practice
yeah,
magic and not
but
have
we
ego.
don't want to. We don't want our egos to get in the way of us learning and growing and making that connection because
Yeah.
you know what happens when we collide in that.
You know, the thing about TikTok is the only thing that I have a problem with really is that it's really difficult. Like, you can't really learn anything off of TikTok. You can watch videos, but like TikTok is not the best place to learn
Mm.
anything. Like, you might be able to pick up a thing, but it's not like you can learn an entire system of magic just
Right,
from
right, right, right,
being
right.
on TikTok, you know, and
Mm.
that's a problem. Um,
It's okay. We continue to grow. There was one guy. I I actually said I was talking about. I didn't get a lot of views, of course, on this video, but I like when I see something that I said come through another person, and I don't look at it as if, oh, they stole that thing from me. I don't let my ego get to that point. I look at it as if the spirit had to get this out. Maybe I didn't do the best work in getting the message out. But you know that next person, and there's one guy. I think I spoke to you about him before, and I actually believe yesterday I kind of tagged him in this video where he dropped it about 2 days after me, and it's so crazy that he said such a similar thing in a similar way, and I look at it as if that message had to get out. That information had to get out because when I made the video, I actually said, I'm gonna archive this one, and after a day or so,
mhm.
and I happened to come across one of his videos where he's saying a very similar thing in a similar way, and so I actually pulled that video, put them together, and tagged him in it with the dates. Like we're 2 days apart. And
Mhm.
I look at it as if that had to get out.
Yeah.
Um, and I never let my ego, because I know that I want to give room for my caretaker, my guy, to get works done. And a lot of times she has to kick my ass. A lot of times she has to drag me because she's a sultry black soul sister. You know what I'm talking about? From the
Yeah.
old school. And
Yeah.
and sometimes I'm sidetracked. I want to do what I want to do. And that posed a lot of challenges for me in my life, going down my own road, you know.
Yeah.
But
The thing is if anybody is interested in doing this stuff, like there's one thing that you and I both have. We didn't talk about it a lot, but one thing that is very, very, very important for anybody who wants to go down this road is to have that ancestral connection and
mm,
also to have a connection with their guides, because I don't do anything without the power of my guides that are walking with me, my orishas that are walking with me, that are going to tell me what it is that they think I need to do. So, like, I don't do anything without doing divination first. I think it's very, very important for people who are interested in stepping on this path to first and foremost, more than anything else, learn how to protect yourself and learn how to communicate with your guardian angel or your guardian spirit or your protector, your guide, whatever it is that you want to call it. Because I think that is definitely, the most important part when you step out on the spiritual path, making those connections, being able to hear those spirits or divine the will of those spirits that walk with you.
She used to horrify me when I was a child, actually. I remember finally talking to my mother. She was the first one who saw her standing over me as I slept.
Oh, wow.
And that scared me. My mother had to go to the hospital actually that morning. Yeah, I that scared me. And then going into my teenage years, the experiences with the paranormal, you know, and I would hear dishes in the kitchen just chattering, or there was always this shadow. Actually, I had a brother. I was adopted, and he was much older than me. And he said, "When you sleep at night, there's this uh, cloud, dark cloud over you."
Oh.
He said he tried to describe it as sort of like a shadow or some dark smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I laughed it off. So I was always in the living room late night, 12, 1 o'clock. I'll say around 1 o'clock, these events would occur. Okay.
Okay.
So one night, he actually woke me up and asked me, "What is that?" And I didn't see anything. I don't see any ghosts, but I saw this dark fall. And I realized that I've seen it so many times in the living room, late nights. Yeah. So there's a lot to say about that. I actually saw her in different forms. We talked about it. They draft these images, apparitions, ghosts. They draft these images from depictions of themselves, whether it be photos, videos, or the way they were buried. And they draft these images. Now, if you destroy these pictures, they can't draft from it. It limits them.
Right.
You see. So I found one night I actually woke up to her. And without going into that long story, I found a picture of her when she was younger. And I'm trying not to really tell too much about this woman, because I'm dealing with wars right now. And I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
want,
yeah. No, no, no. I was going
I
to say
have to.
protect
The
yourself.
thing about a spirit guide is that you have to guide them as well.
Yeah.
The thing about a spirit guide is you have to protect them as well.
Yeah.
So I do protections for her as I expect her to protect me. I
Yeah.
guide her in the afterlife the way I want her to guide me in this. You see? And so I used to be just very open about her. And that's the only thing I don't like about the conflicts that I'm having right now, is that I can't be open about certain things. I have great stories to tell. I want to tell you about a little bit about her.
We'll have to do that on another night.
Yeah.
We'll have to do
So
that on
we'll talk
another.
about it.
Yeah.
Definitely. But that definitely just that, you know, what you're asking for from them, try to mirror it back. That's what I would tell people on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But she's very aggressive. I'll tell you that. She did some stuff that, like, I didn't do it. I didn't do
Right.
it. She doesn't play.
Yeah.
And I know that I can provoke someone into aggressing against me, and they can get that.
Yeah.
So she'll step in. You see?
Yeah.
So
And that's 100% true. I definitely feel like there have definitely been people who have tried to fuck with me that found out.
mm,
And that's because if you can fuck with me, but when you fuck with me, you're fucking around with the entities and the spirits and the energy that walks with me.
Right.
So even if I don't get upset, even if I don't get mad, even if I can let it go, I got spirits in my court that will not let it go.
Right.
And so that's why, you know, people need to be, this is the thing. You got to be careful with who you fuck with, because you don't know initially
What
what
is
is
the
walking with
presence around them?
what is the presence, what do they
Who's
got.
in their corner?
Absolutely. Because to me, I feel like this is how I really feel about it. I really feel about it like this. People like to ask the question, like, well, what is the most powerful magic? You know, who has the most powerful magic? What is the most powerful system of magic? I don't believe that there is any one particular system of magic that's more powerful per se than any other system of magic. I think it depends on the spirits that walk with an individual.
The individual.
The individual.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely think that it more has to do with that person's relationships in the spiritual world than it has to do with what they actually practice.
Right. Right.
You know, and even if that person doesn't practice anything at all, I think it really depends. A person's level of success or their resilience really depends on the quality of the spirits that are walking with them, you know, through their life.
I'll tell you this. I wanted to do at one time a more harmful spell on someone, a very popular guy who challenged all of witch talk and spiritual talk.
Oh, yeah.
And I ended up sending him to Brazil, but he played the whole thing off like it was playing like, oh, I'm going to Brazil to have fun. I was gone for 2 weeks, you know. And I know I wanted worse for him. I wanted to do something else. But he got a portion of it, but he didn't get the harmful part of it that I intended for him. And I noticed that in some of my workings early on, that my spirit guide, I believe, was affecting the harmful works that I wanted to do. And it brought doubt, like maybe I did it wrong. But then I go and I do a different thing and it works.
Yeah.
So I have to figure this out as a journalist, to say, so why is this working, but this isn't working?
Oh, they'll block you.
I don't think my caretaker wants me to get the residuals from a harmful working. Yeah. But it'll allow me to do such things as what I'm doing to some of these girls, even the ones that I want to, that I'm clashing with. It'll let me say, turn this girl into a total all out. I don't know what I can't say on YouTube.
You can say whatever you want. An all out whore.
I could slut her out, you know. I could slut this girl out, but I can't break her leg.
You're a magical pimp.
And so what I can do, I can slut her out, okay, in this spell. So let's say there weren't any protections. We all have protections right now, but let's say there weren't any protection, and I got the residual of what I'm doing to her. I would love it. I'd just be sleeping around with a bunch of girls. So don't dish out what you can't take, you know?
Right. That's the point. That's the point.
So I look at someone's life and I look at mine and I say, what are some things? Okay, so this one girl, I made it so that she would vomit every time she'd eat meat or anything. I'm a vegetarian. So I dished out what I can handle. And so when she would eat meat of any sort, she'd vomit, she'll throw it up. But if she ate vegetables, if she ate other products, she can consume and she relax. You see? And I'm not worried about, even with the if I didn't have protection, I wouldn't be worried about the residuals of that or the cross-contamination of that spell, because I'm a vegetarian. So what I do is I'll fix a person in a way that I can handle. and then I let the caretaker take care of the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel my caretaker wants to take care of the rest because she can handle the harmful things in her state, in her state of being. If she brought harm to someone and the worst happened to them, you see what I'm saying? She's not worried about the residuals in that. But even
Yeah.
though I want to say this too, she's more meticulous than me, less messy. Definitely, she does clean work, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But and that's that. I'm glad I could drop in, man, and chop it up. I hope we do it again.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Thank you for
let's do it
stopping
again on
by.
another night, and some of this stuff will be cleared up, and then we'll talk about um, my caretaker, and I'll even have more information and maybe some pictures I could share. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I appreciate you. Everybody in the audience appreciates you
Hey,
stopping by
man, thanks for having me.
in the thank you. And if you are on TikTok, don't forget to go check out Conjure Routine Shop. Um, follow Ali on TikTok because
I'll
he puts
appreciate
out
that.
great stuff, really, really great stuff. And I really appreciate you stopping by. And everybody, it's time for us to end our podcast for the evening. We've had a good time. It's been a nice little conversation. We
Thank
talked
you.
about all kinds of different stuff. And just so you know, every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m., I'm going to have a special guest on who's going to come on, a magical practicing dude who's going to tell us about their practice. And so if you enjoyed this, subscribe, like, and we will see you again real soon. Go follow Ali, subscribe and follow me. And if you need our help spiritually, you can go get his lucky mojo and get some money and some
Come, get
love.
hey, look, some of these
Yeah,
love spells, man. I'll bind her.
that's great.
Hey, look, man, I'll Tina Turner her. I'll do it for you, man. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. I'll have her crawling.
He said crawl. Can I hear somebody say crawl? He said
Crawl.
crawl. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of the night. Bye, y'all.
All right, man.